Hey guys, welcome back to All Things Knives. It's your host Fletcher today, and we are going to be doing a review after 2 weeks of carry of the PM2. Now this one, I just barely got in and I didn't have a chance to carry it during my carry, but we'll use this as a placeholder for my Maximate PM2. And then my regular S30V PM2 that I've maybe had for maybe 8 months by now. You can see it's got an edge on there. It's been sharpened, a few scuffs on it. It gets used. Definitely a good user blade. Let's start out with the measurements. All right, so we're gonna open both of these up for you guys. Let's see, from tip to butt. Getting about 8.5 approximately. Let's lay it directly on there. Actually, it's more like 8.25. 8.25 inches from tip to butt. That means you get approximately, laying it directly on it there, getting a little over 5 inches of handle if you include the choil. And that gives you about, let's see, 3 inches of cutting length, with the blade being about 3.45 inches. Should be about that on both of them. Yeah, they're the same on both of them. So let's see how that size compares. Put this guy away. With the Rat 1 and the Rat 2. From butt to butt. Yeah, so the Rat 2 is definitely going to be smaller. The PM2 is going to be around the same size as the Rat 1, especially in the handle. And I noticed that as I carried them. I kind of have smaller hands, but they both fit very well in the same. I will say ergonomics go to the PM2 over the Rat 1, just because the Rat 1's handle is almost a little bit too fat for me. The PM2 is nice and thin though, as you can see. I mean, it's not the thinnest, oh, sorry guys. It's not the thinnest knife out there, but I like the way it fits in my hand a little bit better than the Rat 1, especially with the deep carry pocket clip. All right, let's see how the PM2 stacks up against some more knives. Let's do the Griptilians, the mini, in this form of a mini RSK Ritter Hogue, and in my 154 cm Griptilian. All right, so we're gonna hold this one like that on the Griptilian because it keeps wanting to fold over. So the PM2 is gonna be closer in size to the Griptilian, but actually overall it's going to be a little longer and definitely bigger than the mini Griptilian, although the cutting edges on the mini grip and the PM2 are very similar. So not the most efficient use of blade space, but I find that the handle on the PM2 is one of the most comfortable out there. Now let's compare it to some Benchmades. We've got the Bug Out here, which I already did my 2-week review on, if you know what I think about it. And then, oh, wrong knife. The Osborne. So it looks like the PM2 is gonna be longer than both of them. Cutting length, let's see, compared to the Bug Out, let's say actually it's about the same on either of them. So it's about the same. And then for the Osborne, I think the Osborne's got it on cutting length. But I definitely like the ergos of the PM2 more than the Osborne, but the Osborne is very nice in the hand. I just like that the PM2 has that little swell here to fit my hand. The Osborne and the Bug Out do definitely carry better as they are thinner. See that? PM2 is going to be a lot thicker. All right, putting these away. Now let's compare it to some Spydercos. we've got the native 5 and the shaman, which is basically just the large native 5. So the native 5 is definitely going to be smaller, possibly around the same thickness, as you can see there. Blade stock thickness, let's see, on these ground from Spyderco. PM2 on the very far back is either going to be the same or a little bit bigger. I wish I had some calipers. Put that on the shopping list. And then handle size is definitely going to go to the PM2. Cutting length is going to be a little longer on the PM2. See that? All right, so let's put the native away. Now, as compared to the shaman, the shaman is probably my favorite Spyderco of all time. And I'll do a 2-week carrying review on it here soon. So it's actually around the same size as the PM2, but the handle's a little taller, the blade's a little taller, the blade is thicker out to the tip, and the handles are contoured, which makes it fit in the hand really, really well versus the PM2. And when you choke up on the PM2 versus the shaman, as you guys can see, the shaman is more comfortable because that ramp isn't there. Now let's see how the PM2 compares in weight. Got this scale as part of my biology lab. When COVID hit, I couldn't go in person. Really nice though. It was like a $10 scale, super nice. All right, let's go ahead and put this on there. That's with a titanium pocket clip. So under 4 ounces, and with the deep carry pocket clip, I'd say it's a must add. Really, really nice. Carries nice and deep in the pocket. I think really the only thing you see is, maybe not even, you hardly even see this too. Like, it disappears into the pocket. And then the final comparison, which is very apt and just, will be how does it stack up to the Para 3? Which this one's the newer version in the S45VN. So the PM2 is definitely going to be larger. Longer cutting edge to longer blade, although the handle outlines are the same. Still doing my 2-week carrying review of the Para 3. Do gotta say it's going well and I quite enjoy carrying this knife. But the PM2, how was it during my 2 weeks of carry? Well, opening boxes, it was phenomenal because here you can do a pinch grip and slice, and then I found that this downward motion of the blade is quite nice for when you're opening boxes and you're doing your cuts like this. My only gripe is I love the compression lock, but as someone who is ambidextrous, so if my right hand is full, it puts you in an awkward position to try and close it. You got to kind of do it like that, or you can, you can one-handed do it, but it's going to take some practice. So if you are a lefty, definitely buy the left-handed version of the PM2. But as far as in my right hand, this knife is perfect in my right hand. I will say, I've heard this knife, the look of it, compared to a Pelican, and some people don't like the look of them. I actually like the look of the Spydercos, but I will say the ergonomics are phenomenal. That ramp right there that gives it that Pelican look, it really locks you in. I never once dropped this knife while carrying it, and that's because that peel ply texture there is very nice. I did have to take it apart. I will say T8, T6, and then I think I misspoke. I think these are T. Hold on, we're lucky, guys. I got my bit kit over here. Yeah, so these are going to be 6. The pivot's going to be a 10. You can see my T10. Pivot's going to be a T10, and then the pocket screws over here are a T6 as well. Put that away. I am thinking about adding a lanyard to one of mine, taking a clip off, see how it carries. This carried very nicely in your pocket. I love this knife. It cuts very well. The only thing that's a pain that if you carry this knife Do you see that end area right there on the blade? That is very hard to sharpen if you have a standing system with the rod. You definitely would have to do this on a stone in order to get all the way back here. But most of the time when I use my knife, it's up here. So really no biggie for me. The only concern that I have carrying the PM2 is the tip. When I was carrying my Maximate one, I have to open hard cases. Knives come in clamshells sometimes, so to put them on display, I have to get in there and I have to be really careful not to cut the knife, and so I have to use about this portion of the blade drawing like this. My Maximate PM2, first day I was using it, the very tip of the blade chipped off. The S30V though, and the S45VN is going to be a little tougher from my use with the Para 3. Holds up very well doing hard tasks like that, cutting out the cardboard. It did phenomenal. My hands got sweaty. This G10 locked it in. It was very nice. It's just awesome ergonomics, and I love having a choil. Knives with a choil, just when I was having to do that very delicate task with the tip there, opening those packages, it was perfect. I could just go like this, hold on to the package, and it would just glide right through. I didn't have to worry about my hand slipping, me cutting myself. Locks yourself in very nice. Now, some people say that because of the tip, this isn't a hard use knife. I will say this is a hard use knife in the fact that you can carry it on you every day, and no matter what you put it through, it'll keep going. Now, that doesn't mean, you know, prying with it or using it as a screwdriver. It's a knife, so its job is to cut, and it does the job of cutting very well. I had to cut a couple of zip ties with this, those hard plastic coverings. I cut up some twine, opened a ton of cardboard boxes. The edge held up great. This knife did all of that just fine. No chips in the blade, anything like that. And I think the S45VN is going to perform even better just because it's a tougher steel. And having sharpened S45VN, the stuff that I sharpened on my Para 3 the other day, let's see. It sharpened, sorry guys, bumped the camera there. It sharpened very similar to 154 CM, which is one of my all-time favorite steels to sharpen. It sharpened very similar to that. The edge it took was killer. So I think the PM2 and S45VN would be an excellent everyday carry choice. And for the price of, what are they running now, 165 or so, almost 180 after tax, definitely worth it. You get a USA made knife with USA materials. The steel is made by Crucible in New York. The only thing that I would recommend doing is the original clip comes tipped down from the factory. I would move it around like I did on this guy. If you don't mind having a little bit of knife sticking out of your pocket so you can pull it out, then it's a fantastic knife. They work very well put together. Let's see, I took this one apart and it came back just about centered. And so did this guy. And the action on him, if you just want a knife that can do it all, carry every day, not have to worry about, but also when you get bored, it's got some fidget factor to it. The PM2 is phenomenal. I would recommend this knife to anyone. You can get them at Blade HQ, Knife Center, Knife Works, DLT Trading. If you order at DLT Trading, order before 2 p.m. It ships same day. Phenomenal knife. Spyderco killed it with this knife, and there's a reason that when people join the knife community, people hand them this knife. There's multiple variations you can get. There's always sprint runs and exclusives going on, and really no matter what steel you get it in, this knife is phenomenal. If this knife was in like 440C or 154 CM, actually I'd love this knife in 154 CM. If this knife was in 154 CM, I'd probably carry it every day. And I still will carry it after this. And I'm glad that I bought this PM2 after 2 weeks of carry, and I'm going to continue to buy PM2s because they're that awesome. On my list, I have an S45VN PM2 that I want, and my Maximate one is currently at Spyderco, and I'll probably buy another Maximate PM2 because I like it that much. Thanks for watching, guys. You have a good one.